like I mentioned before in the last review video, I like Survivor Series 2005. It definitely had some redeeming qualities, even if this wasn't exactly a period of time that I was all that interested in the WWE. Well, Survivor Series 2006 pretty much has none of those redeeming qualities. I hate this show. It's a piece of shit. It's one of the worst Survivor Series of all time. I was thinking about this as I was getting ready to record this review. I've been thinking about it. I was like, it's something I've always kind of said off the cuff over the years. You want to stay away from Triple H. You want to stay away from Triple H, especially with your character. But god damn it all, the more I think about it, there's no character that more perfectly epitomizes this than Randy Orton. You think about this for a second. 2004. You pushing Orton, pounding Orton, forcing Orton. You make him the youngest world heavyweight champion ever, just so that way you can do all this shit, so that way Triple H can go over him in a monster way almost immediately after Orton wins the title. Oopsie daisies. Thankfully, Orton was involved with Taker for a good portion of 2005 and got away from some of that bullshit. And surely at this time, Orton wasn't exactly his own biggest helper ally. He was a douchebag. He still kind of is. He was a dick. He had an attitude problem. He had all of that. But that work with Taker in 2005 really, I think, helped salvage his career. But 2006, you've got Orton jobbing out to Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam, and frankly, I'm okay with that. And not just because it was Hogan. I mean, at this point in time, why the fuck would you have Orton go over Hogan? It was just that's how bad they were screwing up with Randy Orton. But then again, you bring him to Triple H. And just like in 2009, where Orton wins the Rumble, but he can't beat Triple H in the main event of that stupid fucking WrestleMania 25 show. And even just like now, where Orton's aligned with the Authority, meaning is aligned with Triple H, but they do everything they can to make Orton look as stupid as they possibly can and inferior to Triple H in as many ways as they possibly can. I look at this Survivor Series tag match, the traditional match from 2006, and it just reeks of more Breakfast Club, we run the show bullshit going back to the days of the Click. You've got Team DX versus Team Rated RKO. The match itself wasn't even very good. You're looking at this match has people like Edge in it and Randy Orton in it. Yeah, throw in Gregory Helms. You've got Triple H, you've got Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, the Hardy Boys, and you get just over 10 minutes. What the fuck? This should have been a really damn good match, especially when you got down to maybe the last 2 or 3 on each side. This should have been one of those classic Survivor Series matches, and instead, it was a big steaming pile of shit, and to me, it always represents Triple H and Shawn Michaels trying to send a message to Randy Orton, just like the WWE at this time was trying to send a message to Randy Orton about how things worked and who really ran the show, and you're not going to have the attitude unless we say you can have that attitude. It was just, again, more Breakfast Club bullshit. Because you're sitting there in Philadelphia, and the fans are chanting for CM Punk. Like, big time chanting for CM Punk. Like WWE totally undershot and underestimated how over CM Punk was going to be instantaneously in Philadelphia. Now, of course, at this time, CM Punk was one of the most boring fucking baby faces perhaps of all time. With all the ass kissing and cock sucking that fans and etc. do for CM Punk and the character that he became, it was like literally, if you go back and watch his early ECW shit for WWE, it was like they intentionally went out of their way to make CM Punk the stupidest, most corny-ass, bland-ass, vanilla fucking stupid babyface in the history of babyfaces. I mean, if you seriously remove yourself from the CM Punk I love you man bullshit and you watch, you think the shit that Cena does is corny, which it is. Look at some of the shit that CM Punk was doing. The promo was nonsensical. The way his package was ridiculous. It was just terrible. But even in spite of that, that Philly crowd at the Wachovia Center was behind CM Punk. They love CM Punk. So, of course, this match was all about DX because the WWE loved DX. They thought it was so great that DX got back together in 2006. They just loved them, Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Breakfast Club rules, bitches, and that's exactly what happened here. But what's even more ridiculous about this is not so much just the fact that Team DX won. If that's what you're going to do, fine. But you did it in such a way where you made it look stupid to where it was so obvious that the only 2 people in the match that you really gave a fuck about were Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I mean, you had the entirety of Team DX. All 5 members survive and eliminate everybody involved with Team Rated RKO. But Jeff Hardy doesn't eliminate anybody. He just does the combination with Matt Hardy. They eliminate somebody. CM Punk eliminated Johnny Nitro. Ooh, but they save Edge for Shawn Michaels, and they save Randy Orton for Triple H, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. So if anybody ever sits there and says to me that Triple H has held back Orton over the years and that Triple H has really hurt Orton over the years, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to fucking agree with you. And bullshit like this here at Survivor Series 2006 just proves the point. This is terrible. I mean, there just aren't any real redeeming qualities to this show. Like Benoit Guerrero for the U.S. title could have been so much more. And frankly, I don't like anything that involves Benoit anymore when I go back and watch it. Sorry, that's just the way it fucking is. You got WWE legends beating up the Spirit Squad in a tag match. All the other shit that you did to make Spirit Squad a joke, you couldn't at some point in time put these guys over just a little bit, especially the expense of legends that didn't fucking need it. I mean, come on, man. Mr. Kennedy and Undertaker in their horrible-ass first blood match. Now, I was getting behind Mr. Kennedy at this time, and obviously I'm a huge Taker guy, but this match was stupid. This match was shit. It was just bad. Period. Just like a lot of the stuff that they did at this time was just fucking bad. And then let's not even get to the women's championship match of Mickie James and Lita. Now, Lita hadn't exactly endeared herself to a lot of people, I think, at the company and a lot of the fans, going back to 2005 and what happened in her little love triangle with Edge and Matt Hardy and Skippy Skip and Whoop-de-Whoop. Well, word is now out that Survivor Series 2006 is going to be Lita's last match. Yeah, I remember the last time I did the Survivor Series review series, I really went off on this and really got pissed off about this. And I probably won't do that here, but I will talk about it for just a moment. Look, just because somebody may give you the approval to do so doesn't mean you need to. Just because somebody may sit there and say it's okay, it doesn't make it okay. Like if 4 people are jumping one person, the one person tells his friends that are watching on in shock horror, it's okay if they beat my ass. I really don't mind bleeding out of my butthole and ears for a month. Just because that individual says he doesn't mind bleeding out of his butthole for a month doesn't mean it's okay for him to bleed out of his butthole for a month. It doesn't mean it's okay to sit there and watch as 4 people are beating the shit out of this one dude. And I think about this shit with Lita in Survivor Series 2006, and this is just so bad on so many different levels. The Philly crowd was going to do whatever the fuck the Philly crowd wanted to do. You know what? Fuck them, but they paid their money. They want to chant like that. They want to be dickholes like that, then so fucking be it. But I just can't believe how ridiculous the commentators were during this match and how ridiculous this company was. It's one thing. Lita's going out there. She's doing the honors. She's doing the job. She's passing over the title to Mickie James. That's all fine and good. Did you really need to go there with the fucking crying time segment? Did you really need to go there with the commentators basically implying that Lita was a whore? It was just completely and totally unnecessary. And just bullshit. For a woman who did so much for that company during such an important time in the company's history, they just totally crap-pooned and shitted all over her. And I'm not saying some of her behaviors weren't less than desirable or admirable. And I'm not saying that she was a perfect individual. No, I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying some of the things the Philly crowd and commentators might have been saying about Lita weren't necessarily true. She gets around, if you know what I mean. But with that said, though, just because it may or may not be true, doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be emphasized and talked about to the great level and degree that it was. It was just like they had her in this position and they were going to take full fucking advantage of her. And I don't care if she signed off on it. I don't care if she said it was okay. It's trash. It's stupid. It was unnecessary. And shame on the WWE and all parties involved for what this became. Because it was a snowball and a monster that fed itself and was just stupid on so many different fucking levels. But again, that perfectly fits with this show because as I sit there and say this, what were really the redeeming qualities? You got the Team Cena versus Team Big Show match. Whoopee, Cena and Lashley survived. Now, you knew Cena wasn't going to fucking go out. And pretty much it's one of those things where other people work most of the match and Cena gets all the glory at the end. You couldn't even fucking let Bobby Lashley get the big glory. It's got to be Cena to have the last elimination. Just when you look back on it, you see that even though the years have changed, the bullshit still stays the same. And even the main event, you've got Batista. You got King Booker. It's Batista's last chance to give back his World Heavyweight Championship that he never officially technically lost. That he had to surrender due to injury. And you know what? Of course, they had to make Booker T into a kind of semi-joke character as King Booker in order to have a black man win the World Heavyweight Championship in the company. Why the fuck wouldn't they? Makes perfect sense. And then Batista and Booker and their whole thing, you know, it was just they had heat backstage. They did not like each other. And sometimes that can really work out to the advantage of matches. If there's professional jealousy or flat out hatred, it can lead to guys being stiff. It can lead to guys, you know, really wanting to sit there and outdo the other. But they end up working really well together and they end up going out there and tearing the fucking house down. That hatred becomes a fuel to be awesome in the ring. Unfortunately, Batista and King Booker, you could see that these two guys really didn't like each other all that much. And their chemistry really showed that they weren't getting along all that well because instead of that hatred and jealousy and anger and heat towards one another really leading to something special in terms of in-ring chemistry, it was botchy, it was sloppy, and it was just bad. Batista wins the belt, and at this point in time of the show, I fucking tuned out. I promise you, if you've never watched Survivor Series 2006, don't. If you've watched it before and you are thinking about watching it again, maybe in part because you watched this video, I'm going to tell you now, don't. Don't waste your fucking time because watching this show again is a waste of time. And wasting time is a bad time. And life is too short to have a bad time, so you might as well have a good time. Go watch any other number of different WWE pay-per-views over the years. Just make sure you skip Survivor Series 2006. I literally cannot think of one redeeming quality for this big steaming piece of shit of a show.